Hey everyone, and welcome back. Let's jump right into it. We're tackling a topic today that hits close to home for so many of us.
It sure does.
Renting in America.
Hmm.
And specifically, we're going deep on this new report from Harvard America's Rental Housing 2024. They've really gone all in on the data, and we're here to,
Break it down.
break it down. What's the need to know here?
Well, there's a lot to unpack
Yeah.
because we're not just looking at rent prices here, right? It's the bigger picture of affordability, stability, and the real human impact of it all.
Absolutely. So, okay, imagine this. You're out there right now trying to find an apartment. What's the first thing that pops into your head?
Oh, man. Probably, I don't know, given how things are, maybe a little bit of panic.
Right. You wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. But there is maybe a little good news. The report says the rental market is finally cooling off. It's like, imagine that pot of water that's about to boil over on the stove, and you finally just slightly turn down the heat.
Okay, yeah.
So not exactly a sigh of relief yet, but
Right, because we are seeing vacancy rates inching up a little bit. And finally, some new construction is coming online. But, and this is the catch, cooling off. It doesn't necessarily mean affordable. Not yet.
it's more like easing off the gas pedal a little bit. You're still moving, just not at, 100 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Speaking of speed, though, this report's Figure 1 really shows just how sharp this drop in rent growth has been.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to the last few years, it's a steep drop. Is this something we can actually get a little excited about, though?
Well, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. See, those interest rate hikes we've all been hearing about, they're finally starting to ripple through the housing market. And that means it's harder for landlords to just keep, raising rents like they were.
Right.
And like I said, that new construction is finally making a small difference in the supply shortage. The question is, will it be enough?
Because here's the reality check, right?
Hmm.
Even with this cooling off, the report is saying affordability is the worst it has ever been.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about a few percentage points here. We're talking 22.4 million renter households being classified as cost burdened.
Cost burden. And that's not just a throwaway term. It means that these households are spending more than 30% of their income just on rent,
Which,
let's be real, is a massive chunk for anyone.
that's huge. We're talking almost 1 in 4 renters struggling to afford a place to live. That could be your neighbor, someone you work with, someone in your own family.
Absolutely. And to get why affordability is such a problem right now, you got to look at Figure 2 in this report. It shows how the supply of affordable rentals, especially at the lower end, has been shrinking. And wages, just not keeping up.
It's like trying to outrun a cheetah, but on a treadmill.
Oh, wow.
No matter how fast you go, that gap is only getting bigger.
That's a painful visual. But yeah, you're right. There's a really demoralizing cycle for a lot of renters. And the thing is, this affordability crisis, it doesn't stop there. It has ripple effects. It's true. We're talking about real people here, real lives, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. And it goes way beyond tight budgets, We're talking about this rise in housing instability, even homelessness.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that sometimes when we get caught up in the data, right? But this report, it really hit me with this one detail. It said that the median renter, someone making under $30,000 a year, they only have about $310 left after paying rent and utilities. Just let that sink in for a second.
Wow, that's barely enough for groceries for most people, let alone, anything unexpected coming up. Or saving.
Exactly. Forget saving. It's no wonder the report is drawing this direct line between the affordability crisis and what we're seeing with homelessness now, especially since those pandemic relief programs ended. It's like we were tossing a lifeline to folks who are already struggling to stay afloat, and we just pulled it away.
Right, and those programs, they really were a game changer for a lot of people. I mean, remember the eviction moratoriums?
Yeah.
And all that rental assistance, all that really did help keep a lot of families in their homes. It proved that we can make a difference.
Yeah. And it just feels like the timing, right? As things were getting even worse, those programs were going away. In Figure 4 in the report, it really drives that point home. It shows how homelessness is up, like, across the board.
And it's not always obvious. What's really alarming is how many people are living in places that they aren't meant for habitation.
Yeah.
Cars, tents, makeshift shelters. It's a crisis, but it's hidden in plain sight. And it all goes back to this, this perfect storm of rising rents, wages staying flat, and just this massive lack of affordable options.
Yeah. It's like this report it's shining a light on a problem that's been building for years, and now it's impossible to ignore. So where do we go from here? The report does offer some solutions, right?
It does. It points to rental assistance programs, for one, and the need to really invest in the housing stock we already have.
Okay, let's break those down a little. First up, rental assistance. I know the report talks about this big gap between how many people need assistance and how many actually get it.
Right. Figure 5 is really clear about that. Millions of households who are eligible, they're just not getting the help. It's a policy issue, and I think it deserves a lot more attention, We have to ask, why aren't these programs reaching everyone who needs them?
Yeah. It's a question we should be taking to lawmakers, for sure. But beyond that direct assistance, what about this idea of investing in the housing that's already out there? I mean, we can't just build our way out of this, right?
Exactly. We have to think about preserving what we already have. And the report actually talks about that, how old so much of our rental stock is. A lot of it's run down, needs repairs.
And the report actually puts a pretty hefty price tag on those repairs, too. This isn't just a fresh coat of paint here. It's serious investment.
Oh, yeah. Large scale. But think about it this way. It's an investment that could have incredible returns, not just in terms of better living conditions, safer homes, healthier homes, but for jobs, for the economy.
It's like you got to spend money to make money, as they say.
Right.
But even beyond that, what really stuck with me in this report was just, the human element of this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And their conclusion at the end really drove that home for me. They pointed out that during the pandemic, at the peak of it all, we actually saw what's possible when we start treating housing like the essential need that it is.
Yeah.
Eviction moratoriums, rental assistance, and those things worked. We saw homelessness go down, housing instability went down. It really makes you think, if we can prevent this kind of suffering during a global crisis, why can't that be the norm? Why does it take a pandemic?
It's a good question. It makes you really look at, our priorities, If we can make those support systems happen during a time when, honestly, everything felt chaotic, imagine if we were more, proactive about this long term.
Exactly. It's really a whole different way of thinking, isn't it? We have to stop thinking of affordable housing as something that only helps certain people.
Right.
It affects everyone. When people have a stable place to live,
Right.
that's affordable. They're healthier. They could hold down jobs. Their kids do better in school. It's like this ripple effect, right? Lifts up whole communities.
It's about recognizing that it's not just, a roof over your head. It's the foundation for everything else.
Exactly. And this report, this gives us the knowledge we need to go out and actually advocate for change.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to understand the problems, but, we have to know the solutions too. And then we have to push for them.
So for anyone listening who's fired up about this right now and wants to do something, where do we even begin? This is a huge issue.
Start with the report. We'll be sure to link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there's so much in there, more than we could cover today.
I bet.
And, knowledge is power, right? The more you understand this whole crazy housing market, the better you can advocate for yourselves and for everyone, really.
Yes. Talk to your friends and family about it. Call up your local representatives and let them know this is a big deal to you. There are so many organizations doing good work, too, on the ground every single day, tackling homelessness, fighting for more affordable housing.
Absolutely. Every little bit helps.
It really does. It's all of us working together to hopefully create a future where everyone has that safe, affordable place they can call home.
Hear, hear.
And on that note, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into America's rental housing crisis. So until next time, as always, stay curious, stay engaged, and remember, even the small things we do can make a huge difference.